Hi, boys and girls. Welcome to the live stream kickoff of Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction. I just came off an amazing interview with Jeff Mara from the Jeff Mara podcast, which is going to be, I believe he's going to upload it Sunday or Monday. Um, and on that note, I wanted to go ahead and do a live stream and do a little kickoff party for the book. And if you'd like to pick up Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction, just check the links in the description because it's now available in Kindle or paperback, and you can get it right now. What a journey this has been. What an amazing privilege I've been given. And my interview with Jeff Mara really helped me see that more clearly, that I've been given an amazing privilege. I've been given access to another species. And it's so profound. Yeah. I guess that's the only word I really know that I can accurately describe my experience is profound. And I found a way, accidentally, I guess, through my years of collecting research, through collecting pictures, through collecting the knowing stones, through collecting every bit of information that I've ever been exposed to, through collecting these memories and putting them all together in one place where you get to have all of it at the same time. You know, people, I listen to a lot of UFO podcasts. I listen to a lot of people talk on the subject. And they're all looking for the same thing that's right in front of their face. They keep saying, well, we need disclosure. We need disclosure. We need disclosure, right? And you want disclosure? You got it in Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction. You have your disclosure. You see, you're looking for it in all the wrong places. We want the government to tell us. We want someone with a rank to tell us. When the truth is, most of those people are not as well in the know as I am, as other abductees are. And we must realize this, and we must shift our focus of if we want disclosure, then we have to start listening to the right people, don't we? We have to listen to the people who actually have the information, not people who have access to classified documents that, by the way, you're never going to get to see. You're never going to get to see them. I was watching a recent podcast, a recent video from one of the UFO channels I frequent. And I won't say what it is because I'm going to make a bit of a critical comment. But I've noticed a recurring pattern in a lot of these channels. They keep saying we want disclosure, that we want to know things, that we want the government to do this or do that. We want Congress to investigate all this stuff. And then they keep coming back to this same kind of sticking point that people like me don't have. They say, well, you know, David Grush, he can go and testify before Congress and he can say this and he can say that, but there's no evidence. Right. What does that tell you? That whether he's telling the truth or not, and by the way, I do believe, I mean, I know for a fact he's telling the truth. But it doesn't matter philosophically because he will never be able to have the evidence to show you. Well, I think what he did was brave, and I think that it was a forward act on his behalf to share this information that he has and that he knows. He will never be able to back that up. Right? So even though he won't be able to ever back up that information, People still keep wanting to go to these same sources that will never have the evidence to present to them to back up these assertions. Excuse me. This is where I come in because I have no affiliation. I am not owned by the government. I am not bought and paid for. Yet I have had some profound experiences, which I have evidence for. I have tons of pictures. I have physical objects that have been left in my possession. I have encountered other artifacts, which are no longer in my possession, but that have been recorded, that have been studied. I know a superior form of scientific study for this subject. I am able to produce evidence. I am able to produce experiences, to produce my stories of these experiences and my actual interactions with these beings. See, people like David Grush, they will never know what it is like to be abducted. They won't know what it is like to be physically touched by these beings, to be in their program, if you want to call it that, because it kind of is. We need to start talking to, interviewing, and believing different people. We need to start believing the people who are having the experiences. We need to start talking to the people who are actually being abducted, who are actually interacting with these folks, these grays or whatever other species. It is imperative that we believe each other. This idea that someone must have a pedigree in order to be believed is simply human absolutism nonsense. I don't know if you've ever seen the movie JFK, the Oliver Stone picture. It's kind of an old movie now, but the DA, played by Kevin Costner, his name was Garrison. He said, I always wondered why just because a girl is a prostitute, she has to have poor eyesight. You see, it's like anybody can be a good witness. 90% of the people in the world can be adequate witnesses to things. And we take this tact that because a person does this or does that for a living, that they're somehow more trustworthy or they're a better witness, when this has actually not been proven out at all. This is one of my problems with the MUFON form of investigation, is they judge people on a pedigree, that if you're a law enforcement officer or if you're a soldier, somehow you get more points. And it literally is a point score that they give you for credibility, which is complete bullshit. I'm not a soldier. I'm not a doctor. I'm just a regular person, but I can guarantee you that I am an extremely good witness. And if you read the book, which I hope you do, because I want this book to be a bestseller. I want this book to get attention and to cause a ruckus, because attention needs to be given to this issue, and it is time. But we have to start believing the right people and not the pedigreed people or the pretty people. We have to start believing the right people, people who are risking, who are coming forward, who while I did write a book and I suppose I will make some money from it. That wasn't why I wrote the book. That wasn't my driving cause. That wasn't my driving principle. My driving principle was I needed to purge this truth from myself, that I needed to give it to someone other than me. We must do this. And when people are brave enough to do this, we must believe them. We must support them. There's been a great deal of cynicism that has swept the planet. And is it any surprise? I mean, no. because we live in a world of scams where everything's too good to be true, where, you know, everything's a lie. But that isn't really the way it is. It's only the way it appears to be. There are people who are genuine, who are authentic individuals, who aren't heroes, who aren't special, really. And I'm one of those people. I'm no one really special of any particular consequence, but I have been given this gift of exposure, of uh, contact. And this gift I wish to give to others. I wish you to have. Even if it's secondhand, you may have it. And it is important that we all accept this gift. We must all partake in our own, we must all play our own part in disclosure, whether it is disclosing or it is accepting the disclosure. Sorry, I can't talk. We must accept our role and play it well. In writing Beneath the Haunted Sky, I have played my role to its fullest extent. I have given you every bit of valuable information that I possibly can. I give you every bit of valuable evidence that I possibly can. I give you every avenue of scientific exploration into this topic that I can. I show you how science has it wrong. By the way, thank you for those who took the poll. I had a good time reading the results, and most people believe that it is the government's fault that there has not been disclosure, and also a significant portion believe it's Neil deGrasse Tyson's fault, which I have a hard time arguing with. No, but the real solution is they're all correct. We are lost on science. People are in denial. The government is partly to blame. That, yes, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson are at fault because they are the ones who steer the mainstream where they would like it to go, and where they want it to go is away from truth. That's the problem, isn't it? We keep wanting to steer away from the truth, and reality will just keep steering us back, and it will do it as harshly and painfully as necessary until we accept reality on reality's terms. And the reality is that we are a species that is highly involved with extraterrestrials, whether we like it or not, whether we want to accept it or not. That is the truth. And it is folks like myself who have interacted with these beings, who have tangible evidence, who have real experiences, and who are sharing them with you, that are the folks who should be concentrated on. We need to stop worrying about Congress. Congress is not going to tell you. The government is not going to help you. Obviously, they don't want to. They have too much to lose, nothing to gain. People say, oh, it's the whole War of the Worlds. People will panic. I don't think people will panic. I don't think people will look up from their phones long enough to panic about it. They'll just look for the next clever tweet they can post about the subject. It really isn't about the subject anymore. Not with humans, not with just regular garden variety us. There may be a certain small faction who psychologically recoil at the thought that we are involved with an extraterrestrial species and have been for thousands of years. There may be those who violently reject the idea, no matter how true it is. But the fact of the matter is that we are on the cusp of understanding. We are at the precipice of discovery if we will simply allow it to happen. And the way that we do that is we discover it the ways that it can be discovered instead of the ways that we would prefer it. Would you like the president to get on TV and give you the whole lowdown? Maybe, but it's not going to happen. You see, because they have these beings and they have these crafts and they have this technology, and they're not going to tell you, because to tell you would be to tell our enemies. And of course, we wouldn't want our enemies to get a hold of this technology if they haven't already. We wouldn't want to start a new Cold War for extraterrestrial technology. And I do think that is one of the reasons why they have chosen not to disclose it. I think one of the other reasons that they don't want to disclose is because they would have to tell us how they got some of these craft. And they did that by making a deal. They did this by making agreements with certain species that if you allow us to have your technology, we'll allow you to carry out your own agendas. And mum's the word. They don't want us to feel sold out. They don't want us to feel owned, but we are. They don't want us to feel controlled, but we are. And this is what I was saying in one of the other podcasts when I was like, we live in the Matrix and it's a false reality. We are constantly distracted away from the actual issues. We are distracted by apps and by TikTok and by bullshit. We're distracted by the new shiny toy or the new plasma TV or the new show that's coming on or this or that. And they keep putting all of these things up in front of you, because they don't want you to see what's actually behind the curtain. And the reason they don't want you to see what's behind the curtain is because they don't think you can handle it. They don't have faith in us. I do. I think that you're more than capable of understanding and handling this truth, that you can psychologically deal with something that you kind of got to go, oh yeah, we kind of knew it all along, didn't we? I mean, we've been seeing the signs of this throughout the past few thousands of years, that no matter how far back in antiquity you go, there always seems to be these sky gods who come down with this amazing information and wisdom. I mean, where do you think that's coming from? So the way that we do that is we need to educate ourselves, don't we? We need to educate ourselves about the phenomenon, about these beings, about their agenda, about what they do, how they do it, and why they do it. We have to know who the good guys are and who the bad guys are. Because if we don't delineate, if we don't accept and just come out and admit, yes, there are extraterrestrials visiting this planet, then how are we ever going to sort them out? How do you know the white hats from the black hats? You won't unless you are educated. This is one of the things I talk about in Beneath the Haunted Sky, that I talk about the difference between the ranchers, the rustlers, and the wranglers. And there are ways to tell the difference between them. And usually it's by their methods. And since I have been subjected to several different types of methods used by these beings, then I can inform you about that. And I can tell you from my experience, this is the ones who are kind of the good guys, and these are the ones who are kind of the bad guys. And you get to know that. And you get to know it for free and for painless knowledge, which cost me something. I escaped a couple of enormous risks to bring you that knowledge. And you get to know it with a sweatless victory, which is worth its weight in gold, really, if you think about it. That the people who have endured the trauma and have lived to tell the tale are the most precious resource we have when it comes to the topic of extraterrestrials, UFOs, UAPs, and the abduction phenomenon. The people who have survived this trauma, we are the greatest treasure on this planet when it comes to this topic. People want Neil deGrasse Tyson. What would he know about it? Michio Kaku, what would he know about it compared to someone who has actually experienced it? Do you want to, you know, and I don't want to get off on a religious thing about it or whatever, but if you want to talk about sexual problems or something like that, do you go talk to a chaste priest, or would you talk to somebody who's been around the block and can understand where you're coming from? You have to have somebody who understands your context. You have to have someone who knows what they're talking about because they've been through the same thing. I believe that the ones who are the most able to deal with or to counsel abduction survivors are other abduction survivors, because we know what it's like to not be believed or to be gaslighted, you know, and we know what it's like to not be listened to or taken seriously while you're going through the trauma. Like it adds insult to injury. Uh, I went through a period of my life where I was, I'm outspoken about things, and if something happens to me, I say so. And I went through a period of time where I was with someone who refused to believe me, no matter what I said, no matter how much evidence I produced. And it is one of the most hurtful and disappointing things that you can do when someone trusts you and they share their trauma with you. Your job is to believe them. Your job is to listen to them. Judge later, I say. You know, we judge later, but we must support and listen now. We start off believing. And this is the problem with, and this is partly how humans are in denial. We start off skeptical. We start off denial. We start off negative instead of trusting people. And the reason that I say this is because since I know what it's like to not be believed, I've been a survivor of extreme trauma in my life. And many times the most hurtful part was not being believed about it. That was the part that really hurt. And so we keep asking the wrong people for information that they don't have and to produce evidence that they have not received. This is our issue. And this is what drove me to write Beneath the Haunted Sky. Because I'm the right person. I've had these experiences. I have the evidence. I have the photographs. I have videos. I have drawings. I have my recollections. I have the information that I've been given from these beings. So I'm the right person to talk to if you want to know disclosure. And there are others like me who have had these experiences, who have had this information shared with them. And so we have to look in the right direction if we want truth. Remember what I said in one of my earlier live streams about a rifle. A rifle pointed in the wrong direction, no matter how accurate, no matter how powerful, if it's pointed in the wrong direction, will never hit the target. And that's what we keep doing. We keep trying to find the truth by aiming in the wrong direction. And I'm like, hey, over here, if you want to just ask me, I can tell you some things that will be helpful, that will educate the public. And that, even in the face of technological superiority, our ability to share information is powerful. It is a form of defense. Right now, it is really all we have. And it is being squandered because it's not coming from the source that people would like. Because all of the people who have this information are not all bright and shiny, that we're not all beautiful, we're not famous. We are the everyday people. But it is everyday people that this affects. It's a serious subject. And the denial of this subject has serious consequences, not just for the people like myself who are experiencers who often aren't believed or called names or mocked or whatever, but for humanity in general, because, one of these days they might abduct you. They might abduct someone that you care about, and you're going to wish that you had this information. It's so important that we get information from the right sources, from people who are authentic, from people who have altruistic reasons for sharing their information, that aren't trying to sew themselves into the inner circle or to get on television or to close some Netflix deal, but people who they blend into the background like me. If we continue to blend into the background, we will never be seen. So we have to stand out, and we have to stand up, and we have to stand in our truth and take that risk and bear those slings and arrows in order to facilitate the transition to reality. The government isn't coming to save you. Neil deGrasse Tyson isn't coming to save you. Dr. Stephen Greer isn't coming to save you. We must save ourselves. And we do that by believing each other and by supporting each other and by educating ourselves and others on this topic. While I've spent many years researching the Coral Castle, studying physics, this is the most important subject on the planet. It's more important to me than physics, because physics, we see their physics is superior. Our science is inferior. Our science has flaws. I point them out in the book. The first 60 pages of the book is me pointing out all of the problems with our physics, and our problems in physics are one of the roadblocks to us being able to recognize superior technology and science being performed right in front of us. And we are still too backward to even recognize it, let alone admit it. But these folks that you are putting your faith in, they have empty pockets. They have nothing to share with you that you can't find in a Google search or that you haven't heard someone else say. It is only folks like myself and others like me who have real, genuine experiences that they have kept tucked away, that they come out with to share this new information, to start a new age, the age of reality, the age of the extraterrestrial, where we embrace this reality and that we allow ourselves, we forgive ourselves for our former naivete. Yeah. We have to forgive ourselves and say it was okay to be wrong. It was okay that we didn't get it then, but we get it now. Yeah. And that's okay. We have to be gentle with ourselves and say it's okay. We're human beings. We're wrong a lot, even if we don't think we are. We're wrong all the time. Our science is wrong. Our concepts are wrong. We don't even know how to govern ourselves properly. We're wrong a lot. But the reason in this case that we're wrong is because we just refuse to accept reality. We could be right on this issue tomorrow. And we don't need the government's permission to do it. We don't need Neil deGrasse Tyson to sign off on this. We can accept it for ourselves, and we can start that movement without them. Instead of us asking the government for disclosure, we should force disclosure upon the government. Instead of getting Neil deGrasse Tyson to say, oh, well, this is right or this is not, we should be pushing the science to these people. We should be pushing the evidence to them. We should be backing them up against the wall with the facts, with the proof, with the experiences, with the knowledge. We should be backing them up against a wall until they declare reality and beg for mercy. That's what this book is about. This is about taking the fight of truth to these people, and you back them up against the wall and say, now you tell me how it's different. And they can't. And when they can't, you will see how truly powerless they really are. You will see that they don't have anything to offer you, that it is us that has something to offer them. That is the goal. We are sitting at a table begging for scraps. It's our table. The table belongs to those who embrace reality. It belongs to those who have the knowledge, who have the experiences, who have the evidence. It's our table. They should be the one begging for scraps off of ours. You see, we have to turn this whole way of thinking around. We have to turn this whole construct back on itself. And we have to make sure that we are holding these people accountable when they hold the reins of mainstream thinking. We have to hold them accountable and say, you didn't even try. You didn't look at this. You denied reality to us, and you have caused damage. And you should be stripped of your fame. You should be stripped of your titles. You should be ashamed of yourself. And you should be held in contempt. You see, if the ordinary person denies this because they don't have all the facts, well, that's understandable. And this is what I say, we should be gentle with those people. And if you are one of those people who find out differently, don't deny the truth. Forgive yourself for being wrong and say, oh, I learned here. I learned a lesson. I learned not to judge a book by its cover. I learned to listen to others. I learned to believe when evidence is presented. I learned to base my thoughts and my beliefs in something that is real, and to not talk to this idea of denialism or just knee-jerk skepticism is somehow akin to being intellectual. It is the opposite. You see, a person, they say, oh, have an open mind, but not too many people really practice this. And having an open mind means, you told me something, I'm going to hear you out. And I want to take what you say and judge it against reality. I want to take and judge that against evidence. I want to judge that against what other people who have had these experiences say and the evidence that they present. And I want to do a comparison, and I want to see, does this ring true? And what you will find is that it does, because it is, you see. And that is the point. Beneath the Haunted Sky, The Evidence for Alien Abduction is the realest book you're ever going to read. It is true. It's not always completely flattering to me, but I believe that the truth is worth more than the ego. The truth is worth more than the fairy tale. One of the producers for Prometheus told me once that people don't want all the answers, that they like the mystery. They like to supply their own answers. However, and while this is fine on many topics, this is the one topic that this cannot be afforded. That we must embrace reality on reality's terms. And if we do not, it will come with consequences that you do not want to bear. It will come with consequences that will follow us for generations, your children, your children's children, and onward. So, to take the hit now, to embrace reality now, is to step up and be a hero, is to step up and say, I'm not going to leave this to my children to deal with or their children. I'm not going to leave this to future generations to have to untangle. We can figure this out now. And the way that we do that is simply by embracing the evidence that people say, oh, well, this isn't evidence, that isn't evidence. Tell me what evidence is. You want to say, oh, well, we need a craft, we need a body. Who does? Who gets it? Let's say I had an alien body and I was holding it up right here in front of you. Would you believe it? Does every person on earth have to come up and poke it with a stick before they believe that that's real? Are human beings really that dim that we all have to be hit in the head with a brick in order to accept reality? I don't think so. I don't think so. I think common sense rules here. Don't you? That when I have 150 pictures of all these different crafts that I've seen from my own yard, like I'm not even trying. I'm not even trying. You understand? I just go, oh, there's one, click, and there it is. Do you have to, when you see these things get engaged by the military, then how can you say that they're military projects? Our military is engaging them and trying to run them off. These things are coming into the Earth's atmosphere, coming onto our planet and our airspace with complete impunity. Who do you think that is? If they're not from here, then they're from somewhere else. And if they're from somewhere else, then by definition, they are extraterrestrial. And you say, well, they're extra dimensional. Okay, fine. But that dimension is not on this planet. So they are extraterrestrial. They are from another place. And these beings are from another place. And there are several different types, and they are from all different places. And we have to accept this. We have to broaden our minds to these possibilities that are actual facts. We've had the possibilities forever. We've had the possibilities for hundreds of years. We need to start getting down to this is facts. This is facts. And that what we thought was true, it's actually true. And we can just come to a consensus. This is the one thing. It's not political. It's not socioeconomic. It's not cultural. This is the one topic on this planet that everyone should be able to agree on if we have the strength. If we have the psychological fortitude. If we have that resilience, that psychological resilience that is needed to be able to accept the truth without having to have endured the trauma personally, well, then now we can stand on the shoulders of others. Yeah. And we can say, oh, you know what? That guy's telling the truth. He went through all this stuff. I didn't have to. And he went through all this stuff and gave this to us. He gave us this information, or she gave us this information, and we didn't have to suffer for it like they did. We get to have it for free, basically. And that is what we need to do as a species. We've been told by the ancients for thousands of years that these beings are coming from the sky, that they have amazing technology, that they can do impossible things, and that they know far more than us. Now, how long is it going to take before we wake up and believe them? We have people in the modern day like myself who I've had these experiences for 40 years. When are people going to wake up and believe and say, no, I mean, he's saying this, and then he's showing this and this and this and this and this. Basically, every type of evidence that any rational or reasonable person could want, I provide. You won't get that deal with any government agency, with any corporation, with any person who's a brand. You will not get such a deal. You will get lies. You will get denial. You will get misled. You will get double talk, and you will get nonsense. But you won't get the truth. And it's time. I believe you can handle the truth. And so the truth is what I've given you in Beneath the Haunted Sky, the evidence for alien abduction. I just got off the interview with the Jeff Mara podcast, and it's going to be broadcast Sunday or Monday. I hope you go over and subscribe to his channel and that you tune in, because we hit some amazing subjects, and he touched on some things that I do discuss in the book, but not in quite as much detail as I get into in the interviews, because he takes a different angle, and he's like, well, what about this or that? And I'm like, oh, you know what? Yeah, that's good you brought that up. So he does a very good job of mining for the truth. When he knows he's got somebody there who knows something, he's like, let's see what you know. Yeah. And in some cases, there are things that I don't know. I'll just be honest with you about that, because I should. And these people like Neil deGrasse Tyson, people like Dr. Stephen Greer, they don't know how to say, I don't know. That's a red flag to me. They have an answer for everything. They have no evidence, but boy, do they have an answer. And it's usually a mouthful of bullshit. It's double talk. It's them being condescending. And, well, of course, this is true. That is true. But they don't back it up. All the things that I say in the book, I back them up. I either have drawings, or I have photographs, or I have tangible objects. I have a lifetime that I have spent accumulating all of this evidence, because this changed me. It changed the way I see the world. It changed the way that I see people. It changed the way that I see the universe. And I put all of those things into a book that can change the way you see things too, for the better. We must not be afraid to embrace the truth any longer, because it's no good going through life being a coward, to be afraid of the truth, to be afraid of what is happening. It doesn't change it. And like I said, one day this may come knocking on your door, and you'll wonder what to do. You'll want someone to believe you. You'll want someone to trust you. You'll want someone to share what you know. You'll want to share with them, and you'll want that to be accepted. And I think you're going to want people to have an open mind to do that. And the way that we do that is through our own education. We must educate ourselves on this topic and stop relying on others to educate us when they have too much of an agenda. You know, they got a talk show that they got to, make money on. These people are not in the business. They're not in the truth business. You think Neil deGrasse Tyson is researching UFOs? He's not. He's busy blabbing his mouth about, the history of stamps, or, oh, well, did you know this? And he's like, Captain Trivia. Big deal. What are you contributing to science? What are you contributing to this subject? Nothing. Absolutely nothing. But he's on TV, so he gets listened to. He has this great condescending manner of talking to people that they just seem to love being insulted. I do not. I do not. And I would not insult you with, I would not give you anything less than the unadulterated, complete, accurate truth. That's the value of this book. It is a book of truth. It is a book of surviving trauma. It is a book of profound answers and experiences. It is a book of profound evidence. It is a book of brain expanding science. I know that a lot of people, when they buy the book, they're going to skip through the first 60 pages. I really hope you don't. I really, really, really hope that you take the time to read the first 60 pages of the book. While I have great full color photographs of really sharp images of these craft, and I have my drawings and comparative pictures, um, and that's a good time, if that's your interest. It is visually exciting. But the real story lies in the first 60 pages, where I tell you how science has it train wrecked a long time ago. And we have been too damn stubborn to listen to anybody who would dare disagree with it. And most of the time, it's because most of the people who recognize that there's something fishy going on in physics, there's something weird going on in science, that they don't have the acumen to accurately describe what that is. They just know something doesn't smell right, and then they kind of go make up their own theories or whatever. And so they get, oh, see, they're crackpots or they're this. Nah, they're kind of onto something. They're onto you. They just don't know why. Well, I do. And I spent 60 pages just raking them over the coals for it. And I think that when you read my assertions, when you read my observations, you're going to have to agree. And this is how we change things. When the average person on the street knows more about science than Neil deGrasse Tyson, then we're getting somewhere. When you say, hey, we don't understand gravity, and he's, well, we can land something on Mars. I think I know what I'm doing. Oh, well, okay, explain gravity. Define it. Better yet, demonstrate your knowledge. Control gravity. Create gravity. Manipulate gravity. No? Well, then you don't understand it a damn bit. And this is what I talk about in the book, that we must change our thinking. And it's time to give someone else a shot. Before Newton, gravity didn't exist, right? They're just like, I throw things up and they fall down. That's all we know, right? But he came up with this concept, and we accepted it. We accepted the concept of gravity. We said, oh, okay, so there's a force that's invisible, that we can't see, that we can't prove, that we can't define, that we can't control, we can't manipulate, we can't generate on our own, but there is something there, right? And so we do have the ability to accept some big truths. But what was it? I heard somebody say once, they said it's easier to fool someone than to convince them that they've been fooled. And we've been fooled by wrong learning, wrong teaching. And this is what Edward Leedskalnin constantly referred to, that we have wrong teachings in books. And if they were wrong 25 years ago, they're wrong today. And if they're wrong today, they're going to be wrong 25 years from now. So we have to make some of these hard corrections in order to get our reality, our perception of reality, in alignment with what's actually going on. And when we do that, when we open ourselves up to change and say, we need to challenge that because we can't demonstrate our understanding, well, now we're getting somewhere. See, people like Neil deGrasse Tyson who want to claim that they understand gravity, but we have to spend all of our time and money making rockets to fight against it. Well, then you don't seem to understand it very much at all. So I tried to take on a lot of issues in Beneath the Haunted Sky that I thought would help you on your journey of discovery, of self-education, that I trust that you are smart enough that when you read my words, that you can say whether you agree if that's right or not. And you can say, oh, no, that's a good point, actually. And you can see through the smokescreen that has been put in front of you. When you buy the book, I want you to really read it, okay? I want you to really read it. And I want you to come back here and I want you to tell me what you thought of the book. Right, wrong, good, bad, it doesn't matter to me. It's all good. It's all important, right? It's all valuable. And that's where I do take a path less traveled than my scientific colleagues. Is all input is valuable as long as it is coming from an honest place. Someone says, well, I think you're right about this, but I'm not sure about that. Well, then now we can have a conversation, right? We can't just shut people out. If you're being abusive or you're being an asshole, well, yeah, okay, I don't want to hear what you have to say. If you're being condescending to me or whatever, if you come at me correct, we can talk. Uh, and that's where we need to have the conversation. If you're willing to come along for the ride, I think you're going to like it. I think you're going to come away a more enlightened person for it. Some of the book will be difficult to understand in the science part of it. It's plain English, just like how Ed wrote his books. They're in plain English, but it would take me 2 weeks to really understand sometimes a single sentence he wrote because it's just dense. And part of the book is like that. It's very dense. Hey, what's going on? My man Wayne, good morning. Good morning, RL. Awesome day. The truth is indeed stranger than fiction. Thank you for sharing, friend. You're doing a great service. Thank you. That is what I want to do, is I want to be of service to you. I want to be of service to my fellow man. I want to be a productive person that leaves behind something valuable in this world. That's all we can do. We can take what we do and what we know, and we can use it to try to build something better for the future. It's the best legacy you could ever have, is I added something to the world. That's a great thing to say. And we all have something different to contribute. And that is what makes things magical, is that we all have something different to contribute. Some people can contribute their attention. They can simply take in what you're contributing and use it and give it to others. That's a great thing, to be a conduit for the truth. That is extremely valuable and sorely needed in the world. I'm so happy to be here right now. I am just, I'm exhausted. I haven't slept, uh, but I am so happy to be here. This has been a very long road. It's been very rough to travel. And at times, you want to give up. You just want to throw in the towel and say, you know what? Let these people believe whatever. But I can't. I can't, because I know how valuable the truth is. I know the power of truth. After studying the Coral Castle for so many years, so many people were out there telling lies, pretending to be experts, supposedly understood science. And then I showed up and I rained all over their little parades, you see, and they had to pack up their snake oil sales show and get out of Dodge, because there was a new sheriff in town, and that sheriff was the truth, you see. And it's the same thing with this subject. The Neil deGrasse Tysons and the Dr. Stephen Greers and the charlatans and the liars and the con men, they need to go. And the only way that they get vacated, the only way that they get evicted from the mainstream bloodstream, if you will, is the truth. The truth is the antidote to these scams, to these lies, to these misgivings that we've been fed, force fed, by the way, for the past few decades. You see, people like Stephen Greer, he's a networker. I'm a light worker. There's a difference. You see, that I'm not looking for the next Netflix special. I want to put the truth out in everyone's hands. That's my goal. And you don't have to sign a non-disclosure agreement to get it either. Bonus, right? Bonus. And the guy who has a Netflix show called Disclosure has had more people sign a non-disclosure agreement than anyone in history. What does that tell you? Wrong source. Wrong source. This is a guy who is scamming us because there's so few people who know the actual truth that he can get away with it. There just aren't enough people to call him out on his bullshit because so few people have had legitimate actual experiences that he can say anything he wants and he thinks that you won't know any better. What kind of person is that? A sociopath. That's who that is. And so that was one of the reasons I wrote the book is how do you tell the difference between someone who is telling the truth or not? Well, I've heard from a very reliable source, a person who has provided evidence, a person who go get them, boys. A person who has provided evidence, who have shared their story, who has had these experiences over decades. This is a guy I'm listening to. I'm not listening to some fly-by-night snake oil salesman who's trying to pitch his next Netflix special. I'm listening to a guy who sits at a little desk in a little house, broadcasting through his little megaphone to the world the truth. That's the person to listen to. Because it's not about greed. It's not about ego. It's not about me. It's about you. It's about us. Right? It's about us. And that's my interest, is not in me. It's in us. All of us. Being able to come together to learn the truth and to be able to act on that truth. Because when we start acting in truth and we start behaving in accordance with reality, we are going to be so much healthier. We are going to be so much better off. We are going to be so much safer than listening to dangerous and corrupt minds, than listening to egotistical and ignorant minds. We need to have the right people as our experts. And the people who are experts are people who have experienced it. I'll give you an example. It's like buying a house, right? Now, would you rather stand outside and have a realtor describe the house while you look inside the windows? Or would you rather have a person who lived in the house for years take you inside on a tour? Which one of those do you think is going to give you more information, right? Well, Stephen Greer is a realtor, and I owned the house. Who do you think can tell you more, right? And I don't care how confident he is or how, how he's all an insider. You know what? He's a networker. That's what he does. He networks, and he tries to play on the fact, Dr. Stephen Greer, which gives him supposedly more gravitas when, like, I know 10,000 times more than him about this subject. He's an emergency room doctor. He's not a physicist. He's not a scientist. He's a malarkey salesman. That's what he is. He's a con man who tried to cash in because he's trying to take advantage of people who don't know any better. And the people like me who do know better are going to call that out. So, the only way to know the difference is by seeing it for yourself, by reading it for yourself. So I really encourage you, guys, I love you. I love you. I care about you. I care about the truth. I care about science. And I want you to pick up the book Beneath the Haunted Sky, The Evidence for Alien Abduction. And I want you to read the book. And at the end of it, I want to see, did I change your mind? Do you think I'm lying? That I'm making it up? Do you think I'm wrong about my assertions about science? Do you think really that we have a good bead on things and that we're alone out here? Do you think that our ancestors lied to us for thousands of years and that now I'm lying to you with the same lie that they told you thousands of years ago? There's no way. There's literally zero chance of that being possible. But the benefit of my book is that it is modern information. I include stuff that happened to me right up until about 3 months ago. I can show you the abduction marks that you get when I've been abducted. That I have these recurring marks that happen. That I've been given tangible artifacts that just happen to be shaped just like them. I wake up with it in my pocket. I have been physically touched by these beings. I've been abducted. They have spoken to me at certain times. They have given me information, and this information lines up with biology. It lines up with history. We live in a world of absolutism, don't we? You see, we've either been created or we evolved. What if the truth is both of those things are true? Beneath the Haunted Sky bridges that gap. I talk about that. What if the same craft that I took a picture of in 2007 was the same craft described by Moses in the book of Genesis, or in the book of no, not Genesis, Exodus, in the book of Exodus in the Bible, a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. I just happen to have a picture that I took in broad daylight over Wright Pat Air Force Base that fits that exact description. What if the same thing that they saw 2,000 years ago, I saw in 2007? The same craft that they called the Yupan Triangle and had pictures of in 1996 flew over my head 10 years later. Another country, same thing, same craft that had an effect on me that I'll never forget. This is probably the most important book I've ever written. Of all the secrets I've ever shared, of all of the discoveries I've made, this is probably the most important one. And that is, you want disclosure? Will you accept disclosure? Because we are not alone. Pick up the book, read the book, come back and talk to me about the book. Okay? Now, I'm going to go. I'm starving. I'm starving to death. All right. But thank you for being here. Thank you for watching this. And thank you for buying the book Beneath the Haunted Sky, The Evidence for Alien Abduction. I'm the author, R.L. Poole, and I will see you next time.